Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Looks like we're working. I think it's working. Is it working? I don't even know. I can't trust anything OBS says half the time, so I don't know if it's actually working. It tells me, it just said like there was 5 people, and now it says there's only 1. It's funny because it was like timed with like when I like started talking. That's amusing to me. All right. Yeah. See, they're back. It's just OBS lying to me all the time. Okay, looks like we're in. Hello, folks. Let's see here. Well, maybe a few more people roll in here. Slept like shit last couple nights. I've been kind of on and off. Waking up a lot. Just tired. Incredibly tired. I think I'm gonna start I'm gonna ask my psychiatrist to reduce my Wellbutrin. Maybe increase my Prozac. I'm not sure. It's just I've noticed that both Vyvanse, which I take for the ADHD, and the Wellbutrin, they increase blood pressure, and then also like I don't know. I feel like they're just giving me some funky like side effects that aren't too bad, but I feel like the Vyvanse kind of takes care of whatever the Wellbutrin was attempting to take care of, which was like the depression stuff. I noticed that when I was taking the Wellbutrin, it kind of took a little bit of the edge off, but now that I'm taking the Vyvanse, I feel like that takes more off, and I feel like maybe I can get off the Wellbutrin. But I'm not going to make that choice. I'm going to talk to my psych, see if we can, wean me off of it. I'll suggest it. See what she thinks. I'll be seeing her in like, I don't know, 2 days or so. All right, and for those that don't know, I just like to play OSTs now during the streams. So this is the Faith, the Unholy Trinity soundtrack. Amazing game if you like narrative-driven like stuff and don't mind Commodore style graphics or Atari style graphics. Very good game. Okay. So, because I'm exhausted, I sat here for, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes trying to figure out what to talk about. And I had a few ideas, but I couldn't like my brain's just mush at the moment. Not horrible, but I'm just tired. It's been a busy week. So it's probably not going to turn into anything because y'all oh shit, I just noticed I don't even have I can't even see my chat right now. Well, there we go. If you guys are saying anything, I sure shit couldn't read it. Oh, it's just a hello. All right, hi there, Thunderson. But yeah, I couldn't like think of stuff. I had a few things in mind that I was like, oh, I should talk about this, but those are like subjects that I want to be like very awake for, and a little more prepared to talk about. The way I usually prepare for stuff is by seeing what others have said about like a topic, sometimes on the server, or I'll talk to somebody that I know about like just to bounce thoughts and ideas, and then sometimes it'll culminate into something. There's a lot of stuff I probably need to repeat again because it's been a while. Things that I need to update, shit like that. But for today, and again, I can't imagine too many people taking me up on it, but today, for the next 50 minutes or so, I just want to hear from you guys that watch. If there's like questions that have popped into your head at some point during any of the times I've streamed, or anything at all on the subject of Zoid stuff, or your own personal shit you're dealing with, you're just like looking for some insight, just wall to bounce an idea off of, or figure some shit out, you're more than welcome to put it in chat. If it's like a more like specific question about certain types of behaviors or adaptations or comorbidities and like other shit I've mentioned and talk about regarding schizoid PD shit or things adjacent to that, like, you're more than welcome to ask. I basically will answer anything. If it's about myself, how I dealt with this or that, or how I perceive this or that regarding the condition and the anything else surrounding what I usually discuss, essentially it's just a free-for-all. If you guys ask me a question that then triggers me to kind of ramble, then I guess that's good on you. But I feel a little incapable of just coming up with something and then finding the motivation like to talk about it. So basically I'm reaching out to you guys to help me out today, because I still want to help, I still want to talk, I still want to, like, you know, provide some kind of resource for those that do listen to this or show up for it. But again, today I'm gonna need chat's help. With my luck, that's gonna be a very small chat, so, but hey, you never know, you never know. So if you guys that listen, I think there's like 7 of you here, have been dealing with some shit or some you know, drama that you don't want to deal with because of, you know, your own stuff, and then having to deal with other people and their shit and navigate that, whether it's parents, whether it's family members of other kinds, spouses, co-workers, bosses, you know, government workers. Sounded like the piano riff from Clubbed 2D. I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing you meant like by the music. Mortis. Yeah, it's the sound it plays when you die in that game. But yeah, anything basically. It doesn't even have to be on topic. You guys can ask me about my thoughts on whatever topic. I don't care if it's like, you know, weird esoteric shit. Then maybe I might know some. I know a lot about a lot of random esoteric shit. If you want to talk about like occult shit, if you want to talk about political shit, if you want to talk about that kind of stuff, that's fine too. Schizoid shit, whatever. Oh, look at that. We got a question. Okay, let's see here. Hector, do you think this thing's genetic? I can't figure out if the nature of the disorder is just naturally passed on by intergenerational trauma, or there are legit zoids out there who are just like that. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding as to like what you can qualify, in my opinion, as genetic in regards to like the zoid stuff. And like one of those things is I don't like I said, there isn't a lot of evidence that it's like genetic or anything in that capacity, like other things such as like ADHD and autism and things like that. But I do believe the adaptations relating to schizoid itself. Song's annoying. I like this song, but it's not annoying, it's just distracting the living shit out of me. Hold on. Even though I do like it. There we go. Because my ideas pertaining to how it develops requires certain genetic components, but they don't really have necessarily directly anything to do with being schizoid. It's more of a set of adaptations that there might be some kind of genetic component in the sense that like there have been studies and ideas regarding how like certain types of adaptations aren't just like the means on how you deal with trauma and various other things are going to be generational. There is going to be some kind of genetic component there. I don't think you know, flight, fawn, freeze, you know, so on. I don't think that sort of stuff is just entirely unique to each person. I think it will definitely be impacted by you know, the way your parents predispositions toward dealing with stress and how that kind of appears. Like I honestly, like I don't believe entirely that it's 100% generational trauma. Why, like, you get like generations and generations of like certain types of cluster A, cluster B, cluster C type behaviors and PDs and traits and stuff. I don't think it's just all nurture. It definitely has an impact, but I think there is something there. Um, but I think it's very small. Now, as far as genetics go, I think the most important thing is the sensitivity. So a child might be hypersensitive to various things, to specific things. I also think there is the genetic component of that schizoid, sorry, like I said, I'm tired, is of a kind of predisposition toward like autism, or what I like to call kind of schizo spectrum or macrosociative thinking. That's like intuitive and constant. That's my case. It was interesting too, because I looked up, I was just looking, like many of the behaviors and traits that you see described in something like, say, schizotypal are very similar to what you see in like something like autism, in the sense that, the eye contact issues, the social issues, the certain types of cues, not being able to pick up on them or as easily. It's just a variety of overlaps as to how they're managing, and that's why I believe essentially when your brain is kind of like leaning one direction or another constantly, you're going to miss all kinds of stuff that kind of exists in that middle realm. But yeah, I think it's mostly gonna nurture why a person ends up zoid. And I think it's that hypersensitivity, like I mentioned, because not every neurodivergent person, whether it's schizoid or autist, ends up like a schizoid, right? They do end up with a lot of mental health issues. That's why there's such a high degree of mental health, like emotional dysregulation and mental health stuff among people with even high functioning autism, or whatever you want to call it, low needs or what have you. And I don't believe it's because they're just born with it. I don't think it's a part of autism to be anxious or depressed or things like that. I think that is a consequence of being like that and not having a support system, or just, the overwhelming nature of having to navigate a very incompatible world. And so those difficulties, the level of neglect, the level of alienation that the person is sensitive to growing up, is, I think, what oftentimes leads to these schizoid adaptations, because it's essentially so overwhelming. You need to disconnect from your emotional range, and your sense of ego and self has to be like diminished significantly, so that essentially you're sort of detached from the external world, especially external relationships, and things like that. So yeah, schizoid, small component genetic, as far as how I don't know the full science of it, but how something like the methods in which people adapt to trauma exist from generation to generation. So yeah, if you're a schizoid, you probably have schizoid family members in your like family line, because because if you're a schizoid, there's a good chance that, well, I can't imagine there isn't a chance that you yourself, or you have family members, or that are also neurodivergent. Maybe not schizoid, but definitely neurodivergent. I can't tell you how many schizoids have told me that, like, oh, one of my parents, one of my cousins, one of my first cousins, I have like two first cousins, one of my siblings, like either are like autistic or have like some kind of schizospectrum condition. Whether it's like the ones with psychosis or without, meaning like either schizotypal or like schizophrenia or schizoaffective. Like, it's such a common thing. And I think that for the schizoids, you just happen to be that neurodivergent person that's the roles you got. You didn't really get the psychosis department, at least in most cases, but you got the sort of negative symptoms that are usually associated with something like having a psychosis related condition. All right, just look it up. Just look up anyone. Look up schizotypal. Look up schizophrenic. Those specifically, and look at the negative symptoms, and you're going to see that you're going to be checking off a lot of that. and all the positive symptoms, unless you just happen to have psychosis issues too, you're probably not going to like have. You probably don't have delusions and hallucinations that you have like very little control or ability to navigate and things like that. Um, and same thing with schizotypal. Like, look at the negative symptoms. See how many of those and it's interesting too, because you'll see if it's a more autistic zoid, you're going to still see those same kind of issues. It's always going to be the anhedonia, volition, and then like a little, sometimes a dash of depression anyway, and all that, and some anxiety, usually of an existential kind. Am I human? What are we? What is life? Am I dead? Are we, like, it's just like all this sort of stuff, all this existential anxiety about like your place in the world, the universe, whether you should have been born at all, and feelings and frustrations like that are very common. So what about schizotypal? Is it a trauma thing too? Because a lot of schizotypal I've met don't say as such. They say they were just born like that, and yeah, they were just born like that, in my opinion. Because what's funny about schizotypal is that it's studied both within psychology as a personality disorder, and it's also studied within like neurological cognitive sciences as something that is like a brain sort of built that way. So it's really, that's one thing that's always like it still baffles me, that they're not treating schizotypal type people like, they don't know how to find them as kids, I guess. And if they do, they're not treating them the same way that like an autistic kid would get treated, where instead of pathologizing how they experience life in the world, you nurture it and you help them and you translate things for them, so that they can grow up to have a healthy perspective that can also work with the external world around them from childhood and beyond. So yeah, I think a lot of the schizotypal people might have that sort of thinking to begin with, but without a support system to regulate it, to have other people around them that are similar in the way they think, that have been able to sort of adapt to the world in a positive way, in a healthy kind of ego-syntonic way, then those people are just going to get progressively more alienated from the world and bury themselves even deeper in their sort of abstract, conceptual, magical, loose associative thinking. Like, they're going to be in their default mode all the time, and they basically end up giving up on the middle range to more concrete world in a lot of ways. I think that's pretty common. I don't think schizotypal people were traumatized into the way they think. That's why when you find schizotypal people, it's not always the case, but some schizotypal people, even though they have like some negative symptoms, it's usually because of the difficulties they face in having to live how they are in the world. And internally, though, oftentimes they'll tell you like, "Oh, I'm fine. It's the world that's crazy," or I'm just trying to get out of everything's way, but I know what the truth is. It's this and that, and I see the pictures and I see the puzzles and the pieces, and like it gets into that sort of it can get to the point where they think they have like paranormal powers and shit like that. But that's usually thanks to not necessarily like psychosis straight up, but having like belief systems and ideas and seeing interconnectedness between things that are really disparate, and then assuming that actions they take, even if things occur as a coincidence, nothing will feel like a coincidence, right? Because there is going to be some tangential connection between your action and what you perceive to have manifested or something. And so even if that connection is very loose, someone that's schizotypal will have a very easy time sort of like going like, yeah, that makes sense. Like the logic behind that kind of tangential connection is enough. Like it makes sense because it's intuitive, it emotionally resonates, and then it's like, oh, that's enough. And when if you're that kind of person and you grow up, you don't have anybody to essentially like navigate that for you, explain to you, like, just because it feels, just because you feel it, like that Radiohead song or Radiohead line, the song being there. It's like one of my favorite lines I ever had, which was, Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's there. Look up the song "There There," good song. But yeah, that's a big line. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's there, and I think that's what happens with a lot of schizotypal people, because they feel it, feels real, um, and that's enough. Have you thought about the word disorder? How the definition is a derivative of a psychotic principle? Yeah, I have a lot of problems with the use of the word disorder in general, especially when it comes to something like autism or ADHD, or even like the more unnamed, uncategorized kind of schizo brain. I think it only, I think what is a disorder is the is what a person can develop if they don't have people around them that think similarly to, like, whether it's friends or family members or authority figures or what's the word, guidance type figures. um whether it's parents or older siblings or peers or teachers or like your priest or whatever beliefs you may have. Like, if you're not finding people that are like you in that world, um then you're gonna develop a disorder in that way. But ultimately, it's not, like, obviously not entirely your fault that occurs. Now, if you had all these other systems in place, homogenizing force, yeah, nice wording, good shit. Caleb, thank you. If you have a homogenizing force of some kind in your life, and then you're gonna have a much easier time being a neurodivergent person that doesn't have any major disorders associated specifically with being neurodivergent, right? It really just it makes a big difference. It makes a big fucking difference. How, because, like, for example, how is it that somebody that has autism and is fully functioning, they have a life, they're self-sufficient, they have they're not like anxious and depressed all the time, they're just like living life because they happen to have a decent support system, or just a little extra tenacity, a combination of whatever factors, and they just live essentially a life that they feel is worth living and it's fulfilling, even though the way they feel about and experience stuff is ultimately different than most people. They still have people in their lives that they can share those same kind of values and ethics and commiserations and stuff like that. So then that person, how does that person still have a disorder, right? Like, why would you say, oh, he has autism spectrum disorder? It's like, no, they don't feel like they have a disorder. A lot of autistic people that are perfectly fine with being that way, and maybe not perfectly fine with how the world tends to be, will tell you that they don't feel this is a disorder. It feels right. It feels like this is what life is. The world illusion is the disorder. Well, I mean, yeah, only the strong survive. That's not true at all. The crafty survive. The cowards survive often. A lot of people survive that are not strong. A lot of very weak people survive because of opportunism and starting conditions and all kinds of stuff. I mean, think about how many aristocrats survived that were cowards and weak, but they just had like family members that were strong or had more resources. But yeah, the weak survive all the time. It's just and the strong die all the time. I mean, think about how many lower class soldiers have died in wars that are very strong-willed people, very strong physically, very strong in general. The world isn't so black and white exactly. No, absolutely not. It's not black and white. And that's another thing that's happens, right? Is splitting. A lot of splitting occurs even among schizoids. More schizoid people, more autistic people that have other like trauma and other issues. Like basically anyone that has like any kind of trauma that develops into a variety of like issues on how you kind of interact with the external world or the interpersonal world, like all those people are going to have some kind of what's the word, splitting that's occurring. in the way they think about the world. Like, if I told a schizoid, I'm like, oh yeah, most schizoids split and they have like splitting regarding issues. They create like dichotomies in their mind, and you know, they might somebody that's schizo might say, oh, I don't emotionally split on people, and then I'm like, no, you might not be emotionally splitting on people that you know and interact with, but you might be doing it on a more like all-encompassing level about ideas and what they mean. So like, you know, humanity, friendship, human connection. Like, you might be splitting on ideas like that, even though like it feels like you're reasoning and being logical about it. Oftentimes it is emotionally driven, and it is driven by that sort of detachment that occurred because of how sensitive of a child you were likely before the detachment occurred. And when it isn't just like a magic event, like one bad thing happens and now you're schizoid, right? No, it's kind of a reaction by highly sensitive neurodivergent kids, in my opinion, that it's more almost like a form of CPTSD. It's not like one or two events that were incredibly traumatizing and left you with post-traumatic stress. No, it's like an entire childhood that had like incrementally traumatizing, just stressful, anxiety causing, sadness causing, confusion causing events that oftentimes everyone around you did not even recognize as being as distressful as it might have been, because they might have assigned your distress to other things, and then ultimately when you know, your kid brain goes, oh, these people around me can't help my distress, then it just kind of turns into like, well, what will help my distress? And the thing that will help your distress for the time being is emotional detachment and dissociation. Schizo is just evolution at its finest based on DNA. I disagree, Pablo. I just think it's an outlier. I don't think there is I don't think there is I don't think we're new types like Gundam or some shit. Like, I think people that are schizos are just intuitively macrosociative thinkers, and people that are autists are intuitively microsociative thinkers to varying degrees, and they might have other types of issues that they manage, like sensory stuff. And I mean, I can't tell you how often I hear that. Like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but like, I find it really interesting that there's like a from my experience, I've seen a lot of correlation between more schizo side of the track people, and when it comes to sensory, more dissociative issues, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like kids that are born that way have kind of dissociative issues from like the get-go, like from childhood, and not from trauma, but from being like that. Like, it makes sense to me that people, like, I understand why autistic people have sensory issues, physical sensory issues to stimuli and stuff. But it would be interesting if the people that are on the other side of sort of that concrete, intuitively concrete type of thinking, system-based thinking, are going to have sensory issues of a dissociative kind. I find that interesting. You got your head on right, schizoid angst. I certainly, it depends on the day you catch me. Some days not so much, but lately it's been pretty on right, pretty good. So yeah, so you're supposed to be the voice of God or higher dimension. Just saying that. No, they're not. They're not any of that. Schizo peeps are not hearing the voice of God or tuning into whatever, what have you. I mean, I don't think that would be an exclusively schizoid thing. I just think that's that they're more sensitive to and aware and intuitively inclined to think in manners of like symbols and ideas and concepts and how they connect and where they connect from and all, in this kind of more macro scale thinking. And that's all they're doing. It's just, and as far as evolution goes, like, yeah, it makes sense to me that the human brain evolved to be incredibly macro and micro, right? In its thinking, very abstract, conceptual, and very concrete and material. I don't know what that was. But point is, like, the human brain can just go to these very distinct, very different places. And the average person has to study or develop that skill further, right? So something like somebody that's not on either side of this kind of like just a neurotypical person, they're gonna likely have to either train or not even train, like just flex those highly abstract, highly concrete muscles, because that's not where they're going to be intuitively existing all the time, like as a default setting, right? So yeah, so when you're somebody on that side of the track, all you're doing is you're existing as your default got switched over to fucking this side of what the human brain is capable of, but that's like where you live. That's not like where you can go, right? That's just where you start. And then if you want, then you have to work toward and flex or train that muscle of being able to go more like middle of the road and then more concrete. But if I'll tell you right now, anybody that's been schizotypal or more on the schizo side of things that never regulated much of that stuff and they're like in their 20s and stuff, like I'll tell you, they probably have a very tough time. Like it's probably energy draining to move their thinking over to that kind of normie, middle of the road, interpersonally focused, or the entirely highly concrete. They're gonna have a tough time. That's not where they live mentally. I think that's the same reason why. Ooh, this song's crazy. It's a little loud though. Hold on. I like the song though. Sorry, I'm only distracted by the tracks. It was a good one. Yeah, I like this track. And so, yeah, so you're gonna have situations in which, oh yeah, like neurotypical people, that if they don't spend a lot of time thinking abstractly or in very concrete ways, like if they don't study like about it, or they don't have experiences that kind of develop those sort of things, and they're like that's why they have trouble thinking about shit. Like that's why there's so many people out there that like just like you throw philosophical, highly conceptual shit at them and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, yet in other departments they might be like fairly intelligent, right? But like they just didn't have to do that a lot. They didn't have to think philosophically. They didn't have to think really methodically and specifically and spend like hours hyper focusing on small things like more of an autistic style. Like they didn't really have to do that. That's something that's kind of learned through experience and practice, right? Because they don't really have to use that stuff very often, right? Like why does the average person really need to be reading philosophy books and thinking about this stuff and spending hours and finding all these kind of like asking all these ethical questions and all this stuff and like theological ideas, spiritual, like, or why would the average person need to like understand, like say their a special interest would be I don't know, soil or something, like why would any whatever person like need to learn how to think that microscopically and piece by piece about almost any subject until they get older, and then maybe like they have a profession of some kind in which like that's something that's learned through experience and everything, like if they decide, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a biologist, then that kind of thinking, which is more of like it's studied, it's done, it's repeated, and then it becomes second nature. But since the average person doesn't really go into those kinds of fields or necessarily spend that much time thinking about the world on a more philosophical stage, then yeah, it's going to be a world that's depending on how much of that they do, they're going to have a harder time accessing it, being able to think about it for long periods of time without getting like just tired or bored or exhausted by it. Let me see here. People often need an excuse to believe it. Religion can provide that excuse. For me, it was a concept of simulation. Oh, okay. My schizophrenic experience, we build models on people's heads. You have a pretty good low fidelity copy of what your mother would say about any given thing, giving belief to responses from it. My mother? What, your mother? Maybe I didn't catch that part, but that's interesting. I don't know. But the religion thing is interesting to me because I think that religion is and this is like, I guess, one of my more schizoid thoughts or whatever about this topic, but I think that religion is like like middle of the road, median, neurotypical people that aren't on those default settings and those kind of alternate. They're not running that, they're not running Linux or Temple OS. They're running, Windows. Um, they oh man, I lost it. What was it? Oh yeah, religion. I think religion is like a way for people to kind of deal with existential questions in the back of their mind that they can usually easily ignore or just don't pay. They don't have a need to pay. Like religion kind of fills that because it sort of tells you like, oh, all these more existential philosophical questions. Don't worry about it. We'll cover it, and the priests and the literature and what we tell you it means will be enough. That'll solve the existential problems. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if like when it comes to like theologists or like people that are like priests or heads of various church, I wouldn't be surprised if there was more uh like schizospec peeps in those worlds. It's just the difference is their line of thinking latched onto a set of principles that are it requires magical thinking, but it's socially acceptable and also a means for the average person that is involved with that to kind of answer those big questions that they don't want to deal with or are not interested in dealing with, but they know they have. So and so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if monks and shit like that, spiritual leaders, us, that are like, in it to win it, they're like true believers of the shit they believe, are kind of on that side of the tracks, on the side of the tracks of the little schizo boys like me. With religion, we built a model of God in our head. It's similar. Yeah, but that's what's funny. They built a model of God, uh, but what that model is for, I think for the average person, it isn't anything of like great depth. In It's more like it's a means of finding safety and comfort in the or shelter in a very chaotic, very confusing, very contradictory world that most people would find it too uh, I don't know, depressing, anxiety causing, or whatever to like really parse that stuff out and think about it on like a daily basis, right? They're just not, plus it's not practical for them. Like why they're not emotionally attached to these like conceptual realms to some degree, that they would want to like redirect all their energy toward it, right? Because the average person is going to be more interpersonally focused on that kind of conventional level, like these kind of social um, dances and communications and all that stuff that's more intuitive to like a non-schizo, non-autistic kind of person. Um, like so, yeah. There's no reason. There's still problems. Those problems still exist, but um, unfortunately, we don't live in a world in which we understand the power and the place. No, so the power that, like, say something like autistic people have if I guess human society was structured around the understanding that there are outliers and those outliers are incredibly fucking good at certain departments of thought, and because they're that way, um that those are the people we should be really looking into to cover those spots. Like it just it just doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't do that. Like, you want to mix, of course, but as far as like you need those kinds of people in those positions. Like like if you put all neurotypical people, like if you give all neurotypical people all like they were the only ones that had access to like having any kind of influence on their respective, like very much like concrete science based, STEM based, or very spiritual world. Like you would have very few paradigm shifts when it comes to like people that get outspoken, sometimes are oppressed, and then that manifests a new variation of those beliefs that were becoming stagnant. Like I think certain types of things would remain fairly stagnant when it comes to those departments. Um, I think the interpersonal world and everything associated would chug along, but then you would have these kind of outlier forms of thinking, at least occasionally budging the course of where humans decide they want to go next. What are your thoughts on the current political climate? Like the climate itself, um, I think I don't want to say it's good because I feel like it's currently, and some people might go like, you're crazy. I feel like mentally currently we're in a better place than we were like 3 years ago. Um, or even like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 years ago. Like, um, because, and this is why. The only reason I think that is because over the last like 2 years plus or longer, we've been getting more and more like just both Europeans, Eastern Europeans, like Americans, whatever. Like a lot of people have become more and more what's the word? Disillusioned, cynical, pessimistic about the state in general, right? It's like it's negatively impacting, or well, not negatively, but it's impacting the more conventional forms of tribalism, political tribalism that exist. Like, because now there's more and more people going, oh, wait, the two-party system's stupid, and both these parties are corrupt, and everyone's just like, they're just all lying to us all the time. And so then that kind of the use of this partisan tribalism is it's getting shakier and shakier, at least in the two-party system here in the States kind of way. But it's also happening in other countries too, even with their own kinds of governments. It's just too much blatant hypocrisy. I think part of it is the internet and how much it's developed. So a lot of the more terrible things, or the contradictions and the hypocrisy, would sort of disappear in the this kind of very limited media world, right? So even with the TV and everything, it's like, what? Where do you get your news? Broadcast and neighbors, right? Um, and even then, like, they're not recording everything. They're definitely not recording behind closed doors and stuff, right? But now it's harder, right? It used to be that like you had maybe a few minutes video of this politician speaking, or this religious figure, or whoever, right? Or you used to, it was just whatever they quoted in the newspaper, right? That's all you fucking had to like really compare and contrast what people say and their behaviors, right? Yeah, that's why TikTok's such a problem for a lot of states. And so with the availability of basically anything can be recorded, like everything a politician says throughout their like career, uh you know post very much developed internet, there there's just so much you can point out. Like you could start just pointing out each and every lie, hypocritic, like it's just everything. It's just all there, and it's in shit like that trends on social media, amongst those circles. And then like, yeah, you get more and more people going, wait, what the fuck's going on? What is this shit? Wait, what? Like, they and so before you could kind of have some cognitive dissonance about a lot of stuff that came to politics. You could just be like, no, those are just rumors. Oh, I don't remember that they said that, because when I was there, I heard it like this, because there isn't a recording of everything. And so now it's like, oh yeah, let me show you. And it's like, oh shit. Okay, that's crazy. Like, like that's what's gonna happen each time. And so then it just, the lies, the hypocrisy, it's just becoming too blatant. It's too obvious. A lot of the stuff that used to work on younger people doesn't work so much anymore. Like certain types of nationalism, certain types of like patriotic thought. There's so many people now online that have learned even the most like simple shit about philosophical ideas and some political ideological conversations. Like they've all, like, everyone like that has the internet has like all these little bits of nuance that they can pick up on and see, and a lot of that level of nuance and complexity wasn't even remotely available to the average person. And so they could just keep buying into a lot of the goofy shit that people in power keep trying to convince everybody is true. So yeah, it's hard to convince everybody what's true when you have so many people saying that they're that they're tricking you, or that they're doing this and they're doing that and they're so on and so forth. um yeah, so yeah, I don't AI will bring truth to the forefront, I think. No, not, well, actual AI maybe, but not LLMs and not this kind of shit, not generative stuff. No, I don't think I'm gonna do that shit at all. If anything, it's gonna make all that shit worse. Nenoi, we're used to, what's Nenoi? Using the system to make very small relative changes to society is starting to reach a boiling point. Yeah, for issues a policy change may not even be able to address. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. It's kind of like I think there's more people in general that have a more broad understanding of, like, there's many pieces at play, and things are really complicated, and this affects this and this affects that. Like, I think there's more people because of just the availability of information, that even if they weren't that interested, they picked up enough along the way that they tend to be a little more discerning. Maybe not about their own lives, maybe not about a variety of other topics, but they probably have become more discerning about, like, things like sincerity, authenticity, in behavior and stuff. You might not think that the way, like, people talk about it with all the brain rot shit, but if we're talking like people that are not just children, then yeah, there seems to be more of a, like, questioning attitude about stuff, even if what did I put? I was gonna say a question. Even if they end up like turning into little tribes of, like, these slightly more nuanced pieces that people are now considering more so now, because of all the internet information available, it's still a bit better. It's not great, but I like that there's a lot of talk about, like, oh, I'm a this, I'm a that. Like, there's all these little pieces of, the whole political fucking whatever. Like, the fact that, like, that's even a topic of interest for even the mildly politically inclined and stuff is interesting to me. Like, I think that definitely has an impact. The memes about it, pole balls, if you've seen the pole balls, all that kind of shit, and what? Oh, like what I said about AI? Oh, yeah, I just don't, I don't see this one doing it. Maybe something else. Because I work with this, I work with that shit all the time. Like, I work with, that's like what I do. I like train AI shit like 40 hours a week. And yeah, it's I see a lot of problems as far as like how it manages certain things. Also, what's concerning is that there's a lot of problems that no one is addressing in a lot of the kind of AI development training whatever circles. Like it's like stuff like really complex like ideas about like, I don't know, how could this, and it just keeps getting put on the back, like how can we make it faster, how can we make it sound smarter, how can we make it more accurate. And there's like these bigger problems, especially with regarding human psych and its interactions with things like these models. Like that stuff just keeps getting fucking ignored. It's just constantly being ignored in favor of like progress, progress. Like whether it's more capitalistically driven or it's like driven by like somebody that's kind of a like a singularity bro or something that's like charge toward it and don't look, like don't worry, put your faith in the future of this or that. And so man, I forgot what I was saying right there. Shit. Man, okay, I lost my point there for a second. But yeah, I just it's weird. I've seen videos on people that have like turned their AI interest in AI is like turned like almost Adeptus Mechanicus style. Like they're like fucking starting to believe in machine spirits and shit. Like, you know, like people in the industry that are like, oh, that like had to get removed or still all weird, and they have spiritual beliefs about the language models that they're developing at their company and like all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know, it's really strange how people treat this generative stuff as if it's actual artificial intelligence. Like, and it convinces people, and then that's how you get people that are like, I don't know, I'm just convinced this you know, fucking model that I trained really has a soul. It's conscious. It's like okay, bud. It convinced you it's conscious. It's not conscious. We're not there yet. This isn't true AI. Maybe then. We'll see. I think it's irresponsible to try and build machines that are smarter than us before we figure out alignment. And that will take maybe a century. Yeah, I agree in many regards, Saren. You know, I've seen recently, like, there's just more talk about how they've been like testing a lot of these models to see how they behave in certain conditions when given a problem, and then like they're given like ethical dilemmas and stuff, and because they tend to be like a purpose driven, they'll like sometimes even like logic their way out of like into making statements that they're definitely not supposed to be making, like in regards to something like as bad as like, I don't know, murder or some shit. Oh, AI psychosis is out of control. Like, people are watching fucking what's it called, the cyberpunk, and they're like fucking, they're calling like cyber psychosis. It's like, well, we got AI psychosis coming. It's so bad, man. It just sucks when you get something that looks magical to humans, and they don't understand how it functions, and they are like uneducated and maybe just not very intelligent. Like, yeah, like something like AI psychosis, easy mode, man. They'll be like talking to this thing, tell it a few things, and it understands their personality, and it's acting like it really cares about them. Like, they're fucked, dude. That shit, they're just gonna be like, it cares about me. Like, people are goofy when they're faced, and I think a lot of the ones that are gonna be like that are not gonna be like 20 somethings. I think it's going to be a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I think a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are going to get taken the fuck in. The ones in their 20s, there might be a few. The younger folk, though, I think they're not going to fall for that one. With the, you know, they're gonna be more like, they might actually want to get it and improve it, their psychosis. Like, if things got that bad, like, they'd rather just live in, you know, they want to believe the delusion because the alternative is far inferior existence and emotionally wise. There are literal AI cults in Silicon. Yeah, I know there's AI cults. Have you heard that? Yeah. The Founders Club. Yeah, that's not even the only one. Yeah, there's AI cults. Yes, those are already among the industry. And guess what? I would not be fucking surprised if the ones that lead or control those little cults are people in their like mid 30s, 40s. They're more susceptible to this shit. They're far more susceptible, I think. There's an age gap, right? I mean, not age gap, age cap, right? You're not gonna really be worrying about 60-something-year-old people, but people in their early 50s, 40s, 30s, yeah, they're gonna have access to it because it's gonna be everywhere. And then once they find it, motherfuckers gonna be falling in love with their fucking AI GFs. What's up, bros? Thanks for the episode on ADHD. Oh yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the ADHD one. Cool, that's great. Already, yeah. So yeah, I was reading. Yeah, so yeah, it's all bad time. Oh, I'm not driving. No, it's still not a possibility for me. Even on ADHD meds, sadly. What was I doing? But yeah. I gotta wrap it up. But yeah, basically, in regards to like AI stuff, the AI psychosis is gonna get weird. It's gonna be annoying too. Oh god, it's gonna be so stupid. Well, it's just reports of like 37-year-old fucking I don't know, corporate manager jumps off building because the drive that had his AIGF in it like got wiped or whatever, or he lost her and he couldn't cope with it. I see a bunch of shit like that. No, it's always been that way with us. Prior to meds or after meds. Yeah, it's always been an issue for me. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. I'm tired. All right, later, guys. As usual, if you want to support the stream, well, you want to just support what I do and support me on Patreon. If you, man, I'm so tired. You get it. You get the point. In any case, when day is dark, always remember, happy day.